Well, morning to you, folks. We were John C. again. It's a revolutionary idea of having our ideals and our concepts of what history is supposed to be when it automatically gets revised, and the meaning of our independence becomes a lot different than what we realize. There's a gentleman named Philip Goodrich. Correction. Yeah. I think his name is Philip Goodrich. Okay, so the author was Philip Goodrich. He wrote this book a few months back. Actually, I had it published, and it's still trying to get more and more traction on it. And yeah, it's going to be like almost a promotion for this guy. It's called Somerset. It's the only word I'm going to be using for that damn thing. But what it's been covering at Spain over here has not been covered in the colleges. And that's what kind of irked me a little bit, because I'm not quite sure if the professors were up to speed or if this guy's legitimate or not. He's a surgeon. He's medical establishment, but he's a history buff. Because he is a history buff, does it make him a history expert at this point over here? I've got 3 history experts I've been taught by at a community college. One's got a doctorate. The other 2 are strong professors that they know their craft. So I trust their judgment implicitly. But they get their information from other sources that they can. And one of which had told me during class session with the rest of the class that history is always being revised. So imagine hearing this kind of a shocker at this point over here, that I already know that we already had slavery going over, but I didn't realize we still had the institutionalized African slavery. But we should have. I should have been more aware of it if it actually was covered in the history courses. And if I actually had the audio recordings saved of those, I would have gone over today from information already, and I don't know where the hell they are. And the hardest thing is trying to get over that piece of information there, because it's unsettling and it's an eye-opener at the same time, because it's more of a deeper, disturbing look at our Revolutionary War. It's more and more of a personal issue. So now I'm kind of believe regarding July 4th is it's more of a selfish, self-righteous, self-conscious decision of having a war with England just to preserve and keep going slavery, because you didn't like England in the first place. Was it still our higher and nobler efforts that we've been taught in school? Or now are we selfish, self-righteous, egotistical, sorry sons of bitches that had to have our own way, our own country, and we're spoiled brat children, so we broke up from Daddy-O in order to form our own country to continue our own slavery? According to what Somerset book is supposed to be. Apparently Benjamin Franklin had other ideas. Which will be putting a hell of a lot of arguments in front of this situation here, because we have statues left and right being torn down of our history. Even if it's the Civil War regarding the heroes that the South had revered being torn down because we don't want to see racism. We might as well tear down every damn monument out there, because now, according to this particular book, if everyone starts following it, everything we hold dear in this country is susceptible to racism. So now you're thinking, okay, well now he's promoting other objects at this point over here. I'm like, Well, I know we had slave plantations all over the place. That's a given. We had slavery all over the place. And it takes away what I'm looking at right now. And I am sorely tempted of taking off the video that I got to keep this video going. Because it's going to be a self-exploration in what my beliefs are July 4th is supposed to be. Until I heard of this medical doctor's ruminations and discoveries concerning about a Revolutionary War that makes our history lessons a little bit more darker, more disturbing, more gut-wrenching. I knew we had racism. I knew we had class warfare. I knew we had plantations out there for the Revolutionary War. One of the channels we had on cable did a complete history, I think CNN did, of Washington, our first president. He also was a plantation holder. He had many slaves inherited from his family. They came over to start a new life, but they brought over slaves in order to continue their plantation. And Washington, our first president. And I totally forgot this, which was pissing me off because I'm thinking about the nobler colored sentiments about our country. And it's disturbing on a level that is needed to be disturbed about our country. We're so into the fireworks. We're so into the Americana that we have forgotten how dirty, rotten, and ugly our country had started. And it's grosser than anything. How could this country be brought up under gross situations and that we live in a hidey-flighty attitude about things and about ourselves and about liberty and about everything? And the thing of it is, we have been. We have been. So right now, the only thing we can do is reflect. Seriously reflect upon our history and also what it still means to be American with the capital A in front of it still, without trying to shortchange the words or anything else. What is it to be American for you and for me? Because right now, I'm disturbed. But I'm reminded. I have been living under the hidey-flighty ideas and the nobler concepts of America. That in order to get a beautiful flower, there's a lot of ugliness going on in the damn soil in the first place. We had a lot of ugliness. And there may be a lot more uglier truths on how our country started. And the more truths we discover, I have to keep looking at myself. I have to keep looking at myself, how I viewed those concepts growing up as a kid and then going to college and trying to understand U.S. history even as an adult, even in my old age. Currently in this video, I'm 54 years old. I've been going to school for about 5 years already over at Antelope Valley College in Lancaster, California. 2 classes at a time trying to get my GPA going. I didn't want to stress myself in this older generation here. But in the younger generation that I'm seeing right now, it is insane. Because now, according to this one author, who's a medical doctor, who's a history buff, who digs into stuff like this, who's come across information even worse than what I've discovered in history classes, that my history professors would go over. That Benjamin Franklin even had a darker agenda than I even known. And I gotta order this guy's book to see where is all of this coming from. I'm spending about $17 on a damn paperback. But I think in a couple of days after I get it, it's going to take me about a week just to go through it, and I'll have to do a report on it. Because now it changes my perspective of July 4th. It changes everything. Understanding the concepts concerning about, okay, we had slavery, I'd seen slavery, but just seeing other confirmations concerning about it. It should be jarring. It should be embarrassing as hell. It should be known. We should have known this a long time ago. And it should have been brought up every single time. And yet every time I went to school and studied U.S. history, it wasn't. It wasn't. And to ignore this part of the United States, I knew we had slavery for a hell of a long while. So the question is, why is it producing such an emotional chord in me? I don't have an answer for that one. But after getting the book, I may.